talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. One, two, three, four. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin, and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? What's hot? What's hip? What's happening? What is shaking on your Wednesday? That means hump day. And of course, we here at the Tom Gulley Show hope, as always, that you are getting the full, total, and complete amount of hump that you so desperately crave and you so rightfully deserve. Tonight, I'm going to tell you about an amazing accomplishment in human history, the transatlantic cable. And guess what, everybody? It's got men's names from the 1800s, which are weird. They're very weird. I was doing this research and I went, these names are all really weird. Super, super weird. Hey, we've got a special guest that's returned, and that is, of course, that's right, SG Fanboy is with us, the living legend. Says it's good to see us, and we'll check in on that a little bit more in just a second. But of course, if you could right now like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all the free things, absolutely free, that you can do to help our tiny fledgling show deal with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful, all-seeing, all-knowing algorithm. That would be awesome. We do have memberships. We do have super chats to help us pay the bills around here. And, of course, you need to turn on those gifted memberships. It tells how right there on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. And I'm telling you what, the bottom of the screen, that's where we like to do things. And if you're really lucky tonight, I will tell you about a thing that happened to me earlier today that is really sticking in my craw. And I know many of you like it when I'm very disgruntled on the show. Not gruntled at all, but disgruntled. And I'm telling you, it's still got me pretty cheesed off about it. Yeah, I said it. I'm pretty cheesed off about it. Let's get to your comments real quickly. Funky Bronco was here first. Says, can't wait for the show today. I know it's going to be a good one. Boy, I hope so. And he expresses the usual. I hope Doc's here. Says, I thought there was going to be a pirate radio episode. There will be, Funky, at some point. Just not today. And he's confident today is going to be a really good show. I'm not as confident, ever. Doc, the Doc Torn, our official resident Cajun, he says, wow, this looks like an amazing show. I should like, share, subscribe, super chat, and call in. You should do all of those things. We'd love that if you did that. And of course, you complete me. As I mentioned, SG Fanboy's here. He's the living legend. Most of the fake Tom Gulley photos in the opening were created by him. People saying hi. We do have the most cheerful chat room on the internet, as verified by independent sources. It is good to see you as well, SG. It is always great to see you. He's been great. Doc says, in 2 days I'll have all the hump I can handle. I hope that means a lady friend is coming to visit you. And then SG Fanboy and Doc, you'll have to get together to get the answer to that question, which is not as happy as we'd like. But if at first we don't succeed, try again. Mountain Dew 0, ladies and gentlemen. Really sticking in my craw. Really sticking in my craw. Badly. Anyway, way back when, let me tell you about the transatlantic cable. So, way back when, back in the 1800s, think about this. We're so used to immediate communication. I mean, we have Tim Jenkinson come in here. We have Diana O'Brien, for example. They're over across the pond. And not only can they just chat with us, if they wanted to, they could actually be on camera and all that because we have instantaneous communication worldwide. That's how we roll. But back in the 1800s, if a business wanted to do business with another business or even people overseas, they had to send a letter or money, actual physical money, gold, wampum, greenbacks, you know what I mean, scratch, that stuff. They had to send it on a vessel, like a ship like that. Can you imagine such a thing? It's like, well, we would like to purchase your land and or business and or buggy whip, whatever it was. They would actually have to send it overseas just like that on one of those things, which of course could take months and months. And it also could be like disturbed by bad weather. The ship could sink. It could get lost. Maybe the ship's captain was unscrupulous. Oh, yeah, by the way, they still had pirates back then. Yeah, that pirates. And, the ship could fall afoul of bad weather and, be right next to Davy Jones' locker, which nobody wants that. So what happened way back when, like in the 1840s and the 1850s, people started proposing the idea of running a telegraph, because we had telegraph back then. We could send wires, here in the States and various places, all the way across the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean to over there and back, of course. It wasn't just one way. So a lot of people started proposing this. And as early as 1940, Samuel Morse, who invented the Morse code and the telegraph kind of thing, he said, I think we can do this. And they started running long cables, but nowhere near long enough to be across the entire ocean, right? They started running these really long cables and thinking, we can do this. Well, in 1854, businessman and investor Cyrus West Field, that's the name of a person, not a place where they play baseball. He started inviting people, investors, wealthy men, and engineers, various engineers, over to his house to kind of talk about the project. And they decided one of the best places would be Newfoundland and Nova Scotia, because it's just a little bit closer, than, say, New York or somewhere like that. And one of the things that was a problem was that Cyrus West Field, the guy, he didn't really know anything about, cables and the deep sea. Like, he didn't know how deep the ocean was. He didn't know what the pressure was like down there. So he consulted these experts on oceanography and got some charts. And these charts were derived. Oh, here, let me show you one of these charts. Well, at least this is a map of how they would do the telegraph. This is my own personal collection. I didn't fold it very well. Yeah, I'm old. So they got the best information they could cobble together from lots of ships that would tell them this isn't so deep that you're going to have to run way more cable and stuff. And they kind of got a route that they thought, okay, we can do this. Now, it was such a great route that they named it Telegraph Plateau. Yes. And they said a route right directly to the U.S. was too rugged, because you have to remember that the bottom of the ocean is like mountains and stuff down there. It's not just a flat surface all the way across. And it would also be way longer. So he got this idea, and he managed to convince New York, Newfoundland, and the London Telegraph Company to establish this line between the United States and Europe. And so, they had to do a few things. They had to, shore up the lines in Nova Scotia a little bit. And, all the while they're trying to do that, the storms are kind of keeping them from doing that. But they eventually did run a line from St. John's and Nova Scotia, and the cost exceeded $1 million. And that meant that a line across the Atlantic Ocean would be 3,000 miles long. Yeah, 3,000 miles long. And it would be even more expensive, you know. But keep in mind, the savings in time and all that other stuff would be substantial. So this guy, this Cyrus West Field, he put all of his efforts into trying to get this done. And even before he had a company that would be able to do this, he ordered, and I don't know where you go, Home Depot, where you get this, he ordered 3,000 miles of cable from this company called the Gutta Percha Company. And it's an English company, and they made things from natural rubber and other materials that they would find. And you're going to need 3,000 miles. That's how long this cable was going to have to be. Spliced, of course, but 3,000 miles. So the Atlantic Telegraph Company was formed in 1856, and this guy who already worked for this guy, John Watkins Brett. John Watkins Brett, these names are great. He was the greatest authority on submarine cables at the time, but these were cables that went across a lake or something. They were nothing like this particular endeavor. So there was a guy who already worked for him named Charles Tilson Bright. These guys all had three names, by the way. And he was made the chief engineer. And then this other guy, and this is his real name. I told you that these names were going to be great. Wildman Whitehouse. Wildman Whitehouse, who was a doctor who just kind of educated himself about electrical engineering. He was made the chief electrician. Can you see maybe some problems starting to form here? So Cyrus West Field put in a quarter of the money himself, and the remaining shares were sold mostly to investors that worked with that Brett guy, right? An unpaid board of directors was formed, which included William Thompson, who would later become Lord Kelvin, and he was a respected scientist. Do you want to see William Thorson? Okay, this is William Thorson. There he is. Look at him. Now there's a guy that knows his way around a cable, right? Good old William Thompson, not Thorson. He will become Lord Kelvin later on. Anyway, oh God, I'm telling you. Anyway, he was a respected scientist. Look at him. He's got that look about him. I'm a respected scientist, but I just don't own any scissors. He also acted as a scientific advisor. So Samuel Morse was actually a shareholder in that Nova Scotia project, and he was on the board as well. So the first cable consisted of 7 copper wires, each weighing about 107 pounds per nautical mile. Okay? And then they were covered by 3 coats of that gutta percha rubber, weighing 261 pounds per nautical mile. This was heavy. And then it was wound over with tarred hemp. Yes, in a helix type configuration. So this weighed about 1.1 tons per nautical mile and was relatively flexible and could withstand tensions of many tons because the pressure at the bottom of the ocean is very great. So the cable from the Gutta Percha Company was armored separately by wire rope manufacturers, which is the practice of the time. In a rush to proceed, only 4 months were allowed for the cable's completion, as no other wire rope maker had the capacity to make so much cable in a short period. two different firms from Great Britain were contacted. And late in the manufacturing, it was discovered that the strands were twisted in opposite directions. And that means they could not be directly spliced wire to wire, as the iron wire on both cables would unwind when they put it down at the bottom of the ocean. So they came up with this jacked up wooden bracket to hold the wires in place, but it set the project back and also made people go, this isn't going to work. Anyway, they got a huge subsidy for this, about 17,000 pounds per year. And the British government loaned them ships and all sorts of other support. They tried to get aid from the U.S. government, and Congress had a bill that was passed in the Senate by only a single vote. And President Franklin Pierce signed that bill into law, and so there they go. Now, the first attempt in 1757, shocker, was a failure. Yeah. The cable-laying vessels were the converted warships, the HMS Agamemnon and the USS Niagara, and they were borrowed from the governments, by the way. But neither one of these boats could hold 25,000 nautical miles of cable by itself. So the cable started over in Ireland, right? And it broke on the first day. But not a problem. Not a problem. That's not the end of the world, ladies and gentlemen. It really isn't. Because they got a grappling hook. Hold on, I have a grappling hook. I don't think we're going to need to look at this guy again, personally. Why don't I just take him off of here? Actually, we don't need to look at the map again. I always have to juggle these images because, well, you know how StreamYard likes to hose me on stuff. So let me just get this grappling hook here. I got to show you this grappling hook. It's not often that you can show somebody a quality grappling hook during a show. And I live for that sort of thing. Where's it at? Here we go. The Great Eastern Grappling Hook. Here we are. You guys are going to love this. There you go. Now, come on. What other show is going to show you a grappling hook like that? So it broke like on the very first day, but then it was grappled and they repaired it. Now it broke again over Telegraph Plateau that I told you about, nearly 10,500 feet deep. And so they just abandoned the whole thing for a year. 300 miles of cable were lost. But there was enough to complete the rest of the task. And by the way, during this period, Samuel Morse just learned to hate Cyrus West Field, and he walked off the whole project. Now, the problems with the breakage of this cable were mostly because the cable was so heavy. They had this mechanism right here, along with the grappling hook, that when they were sort of stringing the cable out, there was too much tension on the cable and it would just break the cable. So they designed a new mechanism and they get back at it, both of these dumb ships, the Agamemnon and the Niagara. And 10 days out, they encountered a severe storm and the ships were top heavy with cable, because the holds were full of cable and the top of the ship was full of cable. And so they really couldn't stay upright very well. The electrical cabin on the ship was flooded. But they did arrive at the middle of the Atlantic, and they spliced cable from the two ships together. So one of them started in Europe, one of them started over here. So there we go. After about 3 nautical miles, and again at about 54 nautical miles, and a third time at about 200 nautical miles have been run out of each of these vessels, the cable broke again. So They wanted to abandon it. They wanted to just say, forget it. This is a dumb idea. It's never going to work. But Cyrus West Field just kept on saying, no, we can make this happen. We can make this happen. And eventually, on the 5th of August, the cable was finally put together. And boy, let me tell you, here's how excited people were about this. Look at those people on the dock there with their throwing their hands in the air and everything else. They were excited about this. Let me tell you. This is actually a photo of one of the later connections, but it just makes more sense for me to show it here. So this is from 1866, about 10 years later. And why did they need one 10 years later? I ask you. I'm asking you, well, here's why. The first test messages were sent in 1858, and they were read at Newfoundland, and then they test another little short distance. And the first official message sent by cable was directors of Atlantic Telegraph Company, Great Britain, to directors in America. Europe and America are united by a single telegraph. Glory to God in the highest, on peace, earth, goodwill towards men. There we go. Now, the next text was a congratulatory telegram from Queen Victoria to President James Buchanan. And here is that telegram all wound up and, preserved for history. There it is. That's the actual thing. How about that? All wound up. Look at that nice wooden bracket. They were really into wooden brackets back then for some reason. I don't know. But here's the problem. Incidentally, this was sent to James Buchanan, President James Buchanan, at his summer residence in the Bedford Springs Hotel in Pennsylvania. And it expressed hope, because what else did they have back there, that the cable would provide an additional link between the nations whose friendship is founded on their common interest and reciprocal esteem. Forgetting, I guess, the fact that about 40 years later, we were at war. I mean, previously, the War of 1812, but whatever. The president responded, "It is a triumph more glorious because far more useful to mankind than was ever won by conqueror on the field of battle. May the Atlantic Telegraph, under the blessing of heaven, prove to be a bond of perpetual peace and friendship between the kindred nations and an instrument destined by divine providence to diffuse religion, civilization, liberty, and law throughout the world." There you go. Now, the messages were hard to decipher. Queen Victoria's message of just 98 words took 16 hours to send. The signals got sent very slowly. But that was so much faster than anything else back then that people lost their minds with joy. The next morning, a grand salute of 100 guns resounded in New York City. The streets were filled with revelers and people just so crazy excited about this thing. Look at them there. That's Broadway in New York City. And this is in September of 1858. Flags, bells on the churches were rung. The night the city was illuminated, a fireworks display was even held that, well, it caused a fire in the town hall. Operation of this cable was plagued by conflict between two of the project's senior members, that William Thompson that I showed you. He's a real jerk. William Thompson's just a real jerk, And so he did not get along with this guy, Wildman Whitehorse. They did not get along. And so the project was really plagued by the fact that these guys hated each other's guts. Because Whitehouse, the guy we're looking at right now, was a doctor by training, but he gave up his medical practice and started like being a full-time know-it-all about electricity, which he kind of wasn't. Yeah. Now Thomson had predicted that, the transmission on the cable would be very slow due to an effect called retardation. I know. Make your jokes now. To test the theory, they gave White House overnight access to magnetic telegraph companies' long underground lines. And Whitehorse joined several lines together to a distance kind of like the transatlantic route and said, there's not going to be a problem here. And Samuel Morse said, you're right. Well, Thomson believed that White House's measurements were flawed and that underground and underwater cables were not fully comparable. And he said a larger cable is needed to migrate the retardation problem, because amperage, if you need power or an electric signal to go to one place from another, you're going to have to amplify it. To go from here to here takes a lot less power than it does to go from one place to another at the same speed anyway. So Thomson just said, look, I'm going to show you. He got samples of copper core and specifications, and everybody else wanted to use thin cable because it was cheaper. So that's the way they went. Now, there was also a big fracas about the scheduling and stuff. And so Whitehorse also, who was supposed to be the chief electrician, kept finding excuses not to go on the trips where they would lay the cable. And so Thomson went instead, and eventually they put him on 2 different ships so there wouldn't be any conflict. These guys hated each other. And many times Thomson just went alone because Whitehorse, this fella here, this doctor, he didn't want to go. So Thomson was actually a really smart guy, even though, he looks like a real jerk, but he was a really smart guy. And he came up with this thing. This was called the mirror galvanometer. And it was a very sensitive instrument, but it was the much better thing than they had ever found before. And it would detect a signal, okay? And it was very good at detecting positive and negative edges of telegraph pulses that represented the dot and the dash. And he said, you know what, I could use this instrument at low voltage from regular equipment, even over the length of the Atlantic cable. Basically, it was just a much more sensitive way of getting those signals. So people could read them a lot easier. This was also a point of contention. Whitehorse said, I don't want to use that. I don't want to, I just want to jack this cable up with more and more power. So he put a plan together, and then he didn't go on the ship to make sure the plan worked. And Whitehorse is off having, champagne somewhere. And Thomson just started taking on more and more and more of the decisions because the other guy was an idiot. So there you go. And basically what happened was Thomson handed over to White House the project and just said, look, you do this. And White House said, this is the greatest success ever. And Thomson was receiving perfectly clear signals with this mirror galvanometer thing. He was getting the signal perfectly, right? Well, unfortunately, White House refused to use this little gizmo. So he kept trying to run 2,000 volts through the cable, which completely shorted out and fried the entire cable. Yeah. So there you are. it just eventually it just failed because this guy would never ever listen. The cable was never ever put in for public service again. It never worked well, and very few messages were used. They were mostly just for tests, and that was it. But guess what? Cyrus West Field said that ain't no big deal. That is not a problem. I can go ahead. I can still make this work. All right? I'm going to go ahead and tell you how in just a second here, and we'll finish this up. Please like, share, subscribe, retweet, notification bell, all of the free things you can do to help us with the algorithm, the almighty, all-powerful algorithm. And then we do have super chats and memberships. We love it when you help us out with those because they help us pay the bills around here. Last but not least, turn on those gifted memberships. Somebody might just give you one. Free gifted membership. It tells how down in the ticker there. And in the description of this show is the new and correct URL to our merchandise area. So there you are. There you are. Okay. Man, oh man, we got a whole bunch of comments here. There's a whole bunch of comments. Let's see here. People saying hi. Jay Bizzle from the Pot Awful Cult, H2BH, my man. Coach Mike says hello to all my friends in chat. Hey, Tom. Dupa says, Funky, do you have something important to say, or are you going to say the same thing over and over and over again? Dupa, I feel your pain, and I don't think we even need to ask that question. People saying hi. People saying hi. Yes, Funky was all over this. He's not my lord. Sorry, says Victor. The wolf is here. People saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. People asking questions. People saying hi. Victor with his non sequitur of the day. This project has more holes than that Swiss cheese. Yeah. There we go. People saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. People saying hi. I love it when SG has time to visit, too. We all miss SG. I don't know what that means. Grapple. Underrated or overrated? I think underrated. Look at that, man. There's some serious grappling going to go on there. Julian Zezer says, greetings to all. They should have asked me. I would have told them, make a cable that floats. I think the ships of the time might have run over it. Who knows? I guess you could have made a bunch of floating broadcast stations. I don't think radio was invented yet. Dupa, you're a firecracker today. People saying hi. People saying hi. The wolf says, I'm sorry, this sounds like water boogie, underwater boogie, hip hip hooray. Yeah. What does God or Jesus have to do with the cable? Well, if I have to answer that, Funky Bronco, I don't know that you're a true believer. Dupa says, I lost Pictionary because of a firecracker. Oh, God, I got to start skipping things. Oh, come on, Funky. Michael Gardner is here. He says, ahoy, hoy, hoi folloy. Let's see here. That's just kind of funny, although I don't approve of it. People saying hi. Why aren't we all saying ahoy? I don't know. I agree, Dupa. Funky, the description is Dupa is small, but a real stick of dynamite. You could also say that Dupa is pleased as pie on the surface, but very pugnacious underneath. Let's see here. Funky is the answer. Ben Franklin, he wrote a book on. Funky says he doesn't trust Whitehorse. I don't either. Pugnacious. I swear I'm not a jerk. No, pugnacious doesn't necessarily mean you're a jerk. It means you're just riled up. Eager or quick to argue, quarrel, or fight. And you might have a good reason. Victor with clothing update. Beef Durkee says Tom loved the Tom Thomas role. I think it was Tom Thomason. Have you heard that, Dirk? Is there something going on with that voiceover? I went in a little earlier today and I didn't get a message, so I assume it's okay. Victor, there's no... Okay, hold on. Let's see here. The Wolf says, that Thompson seems to be charged with explosive power. I gotta start skipping these quotes, otherwise I just read quotes for 10 minutes. Let's see here. Don't let your underwear persuade you unless you want it to. Well, there's a rule to live by. I speak part pirate, says Funky Bronco. Dupa says, I never fought with a tree. Yeah, the Wolf did do that. Doc says he has a pet cobra he named Kai. Cobra Kai. Anyway. Funky, avoid the black spot. Yes, you don't want to get the black spot. That's, no. So there's Charles West Field. He says, I want to start this again, but guess what? After all these failures and fights and everything, the public was like, we have no confidence in this at all. And he had to wait until 1864. During the Civil War, by the way, he got these other two guys, Thomas Brassey and John Pender, and he got up the Capitol. And so 3 different companies formed the Telegraph Construction and Maintenance Company, Telcon, later part of BICC, which is the British Insulated Calendars Cables, which decided to manufacture this new cable. And White House was kicked out, and C.F. Varley, I love these names, was put in charge. Now, meantime, long cables had been submerged in the Mediterranean and the Red Sea, and they took that experience and they put it to work improving the cable. The core consisted of 7 twisted strands of very pure copper, weighing about 300 pounds a nautical mile, and coated with something called Chatterton's compound, which was an adhesive, waterproof type of substance that had been patented just a few years before. And then they covered it with the gutta percha rubber and then 4 thin layers of compounding cement. And so the weight of the insulator was 400 pounds a nautical mile. They covered this whole thing with hemp, saturated in a preservative, and I won't go into it any further, but the weight of the new cable was twice the weight of the old one. But they had a site that successfully manufactured the necessary amount of wire, which, because there were 7 wires, they needed like 26,000 miles of it. And 250 workers manufactured that over 11 months. So this is quite an undertaking, right? I've got another good picture or two here. I'll show you in a second. So the cable was laid by the ship, the SS Great Eastern, captained by Sir James Anderson. The hull was fitted with 3 iron tanks that were necessary to have all this miles and miles of cable. And the decks were furnished with this stuff I'm showing you right here. I'll show you again more broadly, which was called paying out gear. It paid out the lengths of cable. So after about 1,062 miles had been paid out, the cable snapped near the stern of the ship, and that end of it was lost. So the Great Eastern steams back to England, where, what do? They just form another company, the Anglo-American Telegraph Company. Yeah, to lay new cable and complete the broken one. So in 1866, the Great Eastern starts laying more cable. Hey now. Despite problems with the weather, the expedition reached the port of Heart's Content, Newfoundland in a thick fog. And there you go. Perfect communication established, said the message, between England and America. God grant it will be a lasting source of benefit to our country. The next morning at 9 a.m., a message from England cited these words from the leader in the Times. It is a great work, a glory to our age and nation, and the men who have achieved it deserve to be honored among the benefactors of their race. In 1866, several ships, including the Great Eastern, put to sea again in order to grapple the lost cable from 1865. They said, look, we did a pretty good job. They were determined to find it, and their search was like basically based on like nautical recordings from that previous ship. And almost everybody thought it would be impossible and hopeless to even try to locate a cable 2.5 miles down on the bottom of the sea. Was like a needle in a haystack. But the first officer of the Great Eastern, Robert Halpern, navigated a ship called the HMS Terrible, which, when it was designed, was the largest steam-powered wooden paddle wheel frigate in the Royal Navy. And then they had a grappling ship with them, and he got them to the correct location, and it fished around for the lost cable with this 5-pronged grappling hook, and suddenly it caught the cable and brought it to the surface. During the night, of course, the cable slipped from the buoy, which had been secured, and they had to start all over again. And this happened a whole bunch of more times, with the cable slipping after being secured in a battle against the very rough seas they were in. Another grappling ship was dispatched to join them. So about a month later, it was finally retrieved so it could be worked on. It took 26 hours to get it safely on board the Great Eastern. It was carried to the electrician's room, where it was determined the cable was connected. All on ship cheered or wept as rockets were sent up into the sky, and it was spliced to a fresh cable and paid out back to Newfoundland. And now they had two working cable lines. Broken cables happened, and then it was an elaborate repair procedure. The approximate distance to the break was determined by measuring the resistance of the broken cable. And then the repair ship went out there, grapple, bring it on board, buoys, splice, and off you go. Now, initially, messages were sent by an operator using Morse code, and the reception was very bad on the 1858 cable. It took 2 minutes to transmit just a single character, a rate of about 1/10 of a word per minute. And that was using the mirror galvanometer thingy, all right? So the 1866 cable, it was vastly improved. It could transmit 8 words a minute, 80 times faster. And they later figured out that the bandwidth of a cable is hindered by an imbalance between the capacitive and inductive resistance, which causes a severe dispersion of that signal. And it has to be solved by iron tape, or what they call load coils, which is not as dirty as it sounds. It's just a coil that you put into the cable. Anyway, it was not until the 20th century that they got to like 120 words a minute, and London became the world center in telecommunications. So there you go. No fewer than 11 cables radiated near Land's End, and the British had basically a live thing across the world. They were getting so many cables at one point that they had to have this here. rooms full of dudes just taking these cables. Became quite common. So by the end of the 19th century, British, French, German, and American-owned cables linked Europe and North America in a sophisticated web of telegraph communications. Original cables were not fitted with repeaters, which potentially completely solved the retardation problem and sped up the operation. Repeaters amplified the signal periodically along the line. On telegraph lines, it's done with relays, but there was no way to power them in an undersea cable. So the first cable with repeaters wasn't until 1956, which they were still using at that time. Apparently, the establishment of the telegraph amounted to 8% of the world's actual commerce, because it happens so much faster and easier than waiting months and all of that stuff. It also allowed banks to operate, for instance, instead of having to bring gold across the sea in a ship or some other form of payment, a bank would establish a branch, if you will, in each of the two countries. So there'd be a Bank of America in New York, and there'd be a Bank of America in London. And they would sort of hold all the money wherever it happened to be, but they would do the accounting and say through a wire, hey, this guy just paid us, the money's here, put it on your books, we're holding it for you. So now you didn't have to worry about a ship going down like the Titanic, which sank with a lot of dough on it, and that sort of thing. So anyway, that's kind of all of the things we went through. And I know you guys are like, well, who cares? Well, let me tell you, a lot of people care, particularly these guys with these barrels who fished the cable out of the ocean and are now bringing it onto land so they can have cable. There was no way to communicate than by letter. If something happened, if some, like the San Francisco earthquake, it took months for that information to get over to Europe. Now, with the transatlantic cable, they were able to communicate much faster, and it's really sort of the first step to modern communication. Rapid communication between large, vast tracts of land, and certainly over the ocean. So there you are. That's really all I have to tell you tonight about the transatlantic cable. I find it fascinating, especially all the problems they went through and the hatred of all the guys with the weird names. You may not. I don't know. That's your business. Let me get through some of your comments here, because I know you're going to have comments, and then I'm going to tell you about something that really stuck in my craw today. Ooh. Really burned my bacon. Really singed my drawers, I'm telling you. Really did. It really did. Let's go back here and get to where you're. Oh my goodness, Doc Torn. Thank you so much. So they laid all that cable with the help of Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai. Yes, they did. Thank you so much for the $5, Doc Torn. That is very kind of you. Let's see, I got another thing here somewhere. Doopa, thank you as well. This is for Doc with the Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai. That's a thing, by the way. I pulled out this is a really old shirt. It's like a John shirt. It's so damaged. And then I fell asleep for a while, so it's wrinkled. But thank you. Thank the both of you very, very much. You guys are the best. I appreciate that. I don't know. Should I give him... I think that deserves the point. But I'm going to give you the point from William Thompson instead. No, I don't think that'll do. I'm going to take Wildman Whitehouse off of here because that guy's just a real jerk. As it turns out, I didn't have to take that off there. I don't know why I did. As it turns out. There we go. There you are. There you go. That's just for you, Doc Torn, and for you, Dupa. You guys are the best. All right, let's get to some more of your comments, by the way. Phone lines are open at 972-994-6822. Give me a second to get some of these quotes out of the way. Victor may have backwards underwear. I'm not sure. People are laughing. Let's see here. I just cracked open a frosty one. Cheers, everyone. Shocking to me, Funky. It's absolutely shocking. Let's see. Victor's saying, I haven't hugged a tree in years since I was a ranger in charge of a timber crew. The Wolf is saying cheers. Doc Torn did own a snake, I think. Doc laid a lot of cable. Oh, you know what that means. There's actually 2 minutes of that. It was a joke, Funky. Dupe is asking Funky, do you have any animals? Do you have a favorite animal? I'd be interested in knowing that, too. I think it's a St. Bernard. You know, they carry that little keg of rum. The Wolf says, Funky, Victor doesn't like underwear with a yes, whatever. Victor would like a way to, yes. Funky Bronco's telling Dupa he had a cat that lived 23 years. What do you think of that? And Dupa's asking, what's the name of the cat? I would like to know that too. Wolf is asking about the military, apparently. Let's see. Tanja. She was an orange cat. Must be short for Tangerine. She is modern with her eyes. Anyway. Julian Deezer says, here, Mr. Whitehouse, hold this cable while I attach it to the buoy. Oh! It was a competitive bunch that were athletic and explosive. Yeah, Victor, I gotta. Some of these things I don't even know what they mean. White House sounds evil. He was a white horse. He wasn't evil. He was just a real jerk. Julian Zezer quite correctly says low bandwidth, but still higher than those French semaphore stations. I'm sending semaphore signals to the ground. Messages of love from semaphore signals by Reckless Eric. Look it up. I live up here on this hill. She lives on there, and her parents don't like me because Anyway. Julian Zeter says the one goofball on the right staring at the camera instead of doing his job. Exactly. And that was probably difficult because I think those pictures back then, you had to remain still for... Get back to your job. You're talking about this fella here, I'm sure. Oh, doggone it. Sorry. This fella right here. This guy right here. Look at him. Just, you know, at old factories like this, they used to have people whose job it was to come in and read from books or the paper. It was before radio, so they would have these people that would just get up and read to the workers while they were working. But yeah, look at that guy. That serious mustache. I guess I'll just leave him up there. Let's just see. Uncle Fatty is here. He says, imagine how fast we could have won World War II if we had the Signal app. I guess that's supposed to be funny or something. Yeah, we really would have won it fast then. Communication is key. Yeah, it also helps to have more industrial manufacturing than the other side. And other things. Gilman says, hey, Gullerinos. The Wolf says, Funky, I drink every day. I'm having black tea right now. Black Gold, Texas Tea. Hills, that is. I don't know what Victor's talking about ever. He's rapidly approaching Aku standards. People saying hi, people saying hi. Always great to see Gilman in here. Funky is wondering about bitterness. People saying hi, people saying hi, people saying hi. The Wolf says, just keep your hands off my cable. Yeah, don't want any of that. Phone lines are open, 972-994-6822. See, we got people saying hi. This is always the cop-out for the bitter person. I'm not bitter, I'm just a realist. White Horse sabotaged the White House. Dupa says, didn't realize how many feelings men's underwear have. I didn't realize that either. I grew up thinking there was just old-timey boxers from movies and tidy whities. That would be the only underwear that would ever exist. And then boxers made a comeback. And now the boxer brief, that's a godsend. Clothes make the man. Julian Caesars is correct there. Don't trust anybody with the first name of Wildman. That'd be great. Gilman says, was the transatlantic cable featured on Gilligan's Island when it came ashore and they made phone calls to a movie theater? That's right. Did Tom get his panties all twisted into a wad? Well, first of all, I know how to spell wad. And second of all, I don't wear panties. And third of all, no. Sorry, I just didn't think it was very, whatever you were trying to make it. Let's see here. That is a good poll for Gilligan's Island there, Gilman, by the way. Very good. Victor says, just give me okay, we know what you want. Know what you want. Maybe you're wearing them backwards, Victor. And by the way, Victor, if you're like a former forest ranger and you're Mr. Handy, you can make your own flap. How about that? Commando is best, just ask the Scottish. Gilman agrees with me that boxer briefs are a godsend. Okay, there we go. Now, I did have something stick in my craw earlier today. I had to have this meeting with these people. Sometimes I just don't know what's going on. So I had to have this meeting today with these people. And I have to handle a lot of people that don't necessarily know about technology, and they certainly don't know as much as they think about technology. And so the other person set up this meeting, and I can see them and I can hear them, and they can't see me. And I'm like, well, I'm broadcasting. I do this every day. We're fine. And they're like, yeah, you need to share your screen with me. I'm like, what for? Because I need to make sure you're doing this right. Now, I'm doing it right. And I said, here, I'll prove it to you. And I shared a graphic with them through this particular application. I said, can you see that? Yeah, I can see that. I'm like, yeah, you got something that's not set up right. It's not me. Send me your computer specifications. What do you mean by that? I want to know your storage and all this. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that either. This is a pretty simple thing. Google Meet. It's easy to do. Just go to your settings and and turn on my camera, do what you got to do, or leave and come back. I don't know, but you don't get to like see all my stuff and, evaluate what I'm doing because you can't make it. Mine's working fine. Absolutely fine. So, Victor is tired of me. Victor, doggone it. I don't know how I'm going to sleep at night. I'm sure there's another show you can go to and have a completely different side conversation in the chat to what is actually being discussed. I'm not mad at you. I've come to accept you. That shows you what a beautiful gesture it is on my part. You poor guy. Let's see here. Take them off before making your own flap. Yeah, Victor, I'm just trying to help. You don't have to make your own flap if you don't want to. You can also just pee right through them, too, and put them in the wash. I don't know. Man, I got my own issues. I got a guy that wanted me to share my screen with him so he could troubleshoot his problem. Yeah. I didn't bother pointing out to him, there's no reason you need to see me. We're just having a conversation here. If it'll make you happy, turn your camera off and whatever. I went into my settings. I made sure I had my Logitech. But man, I don't like it when people double down on being wrong. Like, now I need to, I'm like, why would I show you my screen? I've got stuff open on this thing from other clients. I've got, what? Who are you? Anyway, really stuck in my craw. Let's see here. Bye. Oh, where was the thing? Boxers are good, but they're not pervitine. No, they're not. Dupa says, Victor, bye-bye. Oh, come on. But yeah. Doc says, I'm sure Victor has pervitine. His concern about underwear would be gone. Yes. Dupa says, na. Hey. Goodbye. The wolf says, come on, Victor, please don't go. What will we do without you? Victor, if you leave, it'll put me over the edge. Yeah, nobody wants that. Come on, Victor. Be a guy. Hang in here. We're just concerned about you and your inability to get a working pair of underwear. I mean, it's like the guy I was dealing with earlier today. But he was so abrasive about it. And I'm sitting here trying to be nice and finally went, hey, man, you know what we could do is not have this conversation and just send me an email when you need something because you're not the boss of me. Duke was actually dancing about it. Victor, this is not an airport. No need to announce your departure. Gilman says, I know it's not a sports show, but thoughts on Shadur Sanders, owner's collusion against prima donna? I don't think so. I don't think they colluded. I think when you say the things he said and did the things he did, and let's face it, he's not all that. Is he decent? Yes, he is. But is he a, generational defining talent? No, he is not. And so, when you start saying things that we're going to dictate who we're talking about, no, you're not your dad. You don't have that kind of talent. So I think, let's put it this way. You sign Shadur Sanders, it's like signing one of the Ball brothers. You're signing the circus that goes with it. And so if you've got him sitting on the bench, there's going to be squawking. If the starter has a bad game or whatever, and there's going to be I ought to be playing. Come on. That's what that's about. It's like there's other guys out there, so. Funky says NFL teams don't want a player that gets sacked all the time. Gil, when you hold on to the ball and miss open receivers the way he does, you go in the 5th round. That's right. Funky says this year's draft has the worst crop of players in the last 20 years. I don't know about that. Gilman says, Tom, thank you, Tom. He's not that athletic. And it's part of it's not his fault. Part of it is people just keep hype training him. Retiring his jersey number and his dad out there. Dion, kind of one of those guys that could back up his swag, but not so much as a coach lately. So, it's a mess. It's like having Tim Tebow as your backup. Is he that great? No. But people are always going to go, hey, maybe we should get him in there. And you don't need that. You just don't need that. But the biggest issue is the one that the Wolf mentions. I'm going to put it up here because the Wolf knows what he's talking about. When you hold on to the ball and miss open receivers the way he does, he goes in the 5th round. Yeah. He's not a speed merchant either. No, he's not athletic. He does not have quick feet. It's my sad thing to say. SG Family says, does he refer to himself in the 3rd person like his dad did? I guess he rubbed some people the wrong way, whether he actually did that thing, SG. He rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Funky says, Sanders going to follow and John Manziel steps up with the Brownsville. It's like Bronny. Exactly, it's like Bronny. It's exactly like Bronny. Exactly. So that's what I think. Although I really don't care because Arsenal. I'm just glad the Colts didn't pick him up. Bronny is humble. Well, that's the truth. If he would have been humble, I heard a guy say that if he doesn't go in the first 18 picks of the 2nd round, he may not go. And that guy was getting close to being right. When you lose yardage because you're backpedaling all the time. Doc says, it's a good thing Wolf knows what he's talking about. I never know what I'm going to say. Well, I know it's going to be something good, Doc Torn. I'll tell you that. Funky Bro. Johnny Manziel, yes. Let me see. Come on now. Oh, come on. Boom, shakalaka. So we got Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, and Riley Leonard. Let me tell you, Daniel Jones on a 1-year contract, and I'd start him before Richardson every single game. Richardson is just... Wolf says, I think Ricky Henderson is the only athlete that refers to himself in the 3rd person. Oh, no. Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Ric Flair. I don't know what that's connected to, but let's see here. Does he refer to himself in the 3rd person? I think the key word there would be athlete. Not an athlete, Ric Flair. He's an entertainer. He's a performer. He's not an athlete. Sorry. This is a 3rd flood warning I've gotten today. We had just a brutal amount of rain and thunder today here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So there. Let's see. When I hear Ric Flair, I can't help myself. Yeah, you do kind of have to. Well, a lot of people do. I don't, because I'm not a it's steroid theater, man. It's fake. It's fake. Sorry, when I hear Ric Flair, I can't help myself. I used to love He Hate Me. He Hate Me actually made it to the league for a short period of time. You take a dozen chops to the chest and tells me he's not an athlete. Well, athletes compete in competitive events. Stuntman is not an athlete. He may be athletic, but that's, come on, it's a joke. It's for children. No need to be sorry, Dupa. I had the same reaction. Very funny, funky. Ricky Henderson loves Ricky Henderson. He Hate Me was a good player. He was decent. I think he was with the Cowboys for a while, right? Was he special teams? I mean, if people like the wrestling, more power to them. I don't get any problems with that. It's entertainment. It's called WWE. The E is for entertainment. Let's see here. San Diego Chargers, Edmonton Eskimos, ouch. But then Philadelphia Eagles, Carolina Panthers, and then the Oakland Raiders. But that was practice squad. He Hate Me. From Western Kentucky, that's where Harbaugh's dad coached there, I think. Go Tops, the Toppers, the Hill Toppers. That's where Gene Cady coached before he went to Purdue. So anyways, that's what we got going on here. Well, I'm going to close down the phone lines, I suppose. Ain't no reason for them phone lines to be open. And let me get in while the getting's good, kids, because them phone lines is only going to be open for another 5 days. 5 days. Whether it's the triceps, biceps, or what have you, he's on an extreme regimen. An extreme regimen. I mean, it takes athletic ability to jump off of a third turnbuckle and do what. That's he's not an athlete. Sorry. Hey, the Wolf's cousin played for Western Kentucky. I got recruited to go there, but I couldn't because it's in Kentucky. Just kidding, Gil, man. Just kidding. Didn't want to cross the Ohio River. So let's see here. Dupa says, Tom, steroid theater, dark side of the ring, but it entertains so many people. A lot of injured athletes who couldn't play sports anymore went to wrestling. Yes. Ernie Ladd. Only the Wolf and I probably remember Ernie Ladd. But yeah, a lot of them did. What's in the microwave, Tom? Well, I just put the microwave here because I did a show about inventions and, the transatlantic cable. So I don't own a microwave myself. I refuse to use them. But yeah, Dupa, I used to watch a little pro wrestling. There was a while there. I thought it was pretty good. Big Jim Duggan, the Big Boss Man. And then the real wrestling that the Wolf and I watched when we were growing up was the Crusher, Dick the Bruiser, obviously, Pepper Gomez, Wilbur Schneider, the world's most... Yeah, I saw your smarty pants posting. I long for the day I can post something snarky about your team's European Champions League semifinal performance, but I'm not holding my breath. And we're only down 1-0. There's no away goals rule anymore. So, but it's the typical Arsenal thing lately. See, the reason we beat Real Madrid was because we weren't expected to. There was no pressure. Every time we're expected to perform and we need a result, those guys choke. Ugh. I want your coach If we had David Moyes as our coach the last 3 years, we'd at least have one title. Anyway, hello, Jim Jenkins. Funky says, I like the Attitude Era of wrestling. Sailor Art Thomas, yes, the Baron. Big John Studd, the Legionnaires. Doc says, well, like the Rev says, till next time. I'll see you next time. Don't leave, Doc. Don't go. Tim Jenkins says, you will need a time machine to talk about Everton in Europe. You guys won when it was called the UEFA Cup, I think you guys. You won one or you played in a final. Was it 84, 5, something like that? Can't remember now. I so can't remember. I'm closing the phone lines down. They're closed. You can kiss that dream goodbye. Tim says, good evening. Later, Doc. Don't lie, Tom. You and Wolf watched WOW, Women of Wrestling. No, I watched Glow. And actually, I have a DVD of the best of Glow. Glamorous Ladies of Wrestling. The old one, the real one, not the remake, just a few years ago. Dupas says, SG fanboy, so good to see you. Yeah, it is so great to see SG, isn't it, folks? Man, oh man, it does our heart good. And yes, Wolf and I are the ladies of wrestling. Great to see you, Dupa. Always good to see everybody. Maybe next season. Uncle Fatty says, tell Superfly Jimmy Snuka he ain't no athlete. Okay. Get him in front of me. You're not an athlete. I don't know what you need to hear. They give out an Olympic gold medal for that? I love you, SG. Look at that. Circus performers aren't athletes. They're athletic. They're not athletes. The remake of Glow was terrific. I never saw that. I think Superfly is dead. If he's not, well, you know. SG Family says, let's just be friends, Funky. That's probably the best way to do it. Probably the best way to do it. You know. I think they got that. Was there a college scholarship for wrestling, professional wrestling? I know the real legitimate wrestling they used to give them out. But let's see. Dusty Rhodes is an athlete. Tisk tisk. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not even alive anymore, is he? I know his kid's wrestling. Let's see here. Yeah, he's been maggot feed for a decade. Oh, yeah, and what an athlete. Look at that physique. Wrestlers were considered classic for talking about themselves in the third person. Yeah. Iron Claw movie was pretty accurate. Trapeze artists aren't athletes. No, I don't think they are. I think they're artists. It says in the name artist. You know, it's tightrope walkers, the daredevils, to be sure. You know, but athletes, they're athletic. An athlete competes in a competition. The thrill of athletic competition and the agony of defeat. I haven't seen Iron Claw yet. What about pool players? I mean, billiards? Yes, those are athletes. Such a sad story. Of course, there was a scholarship for championship wrestling. Really? All right. Dusty had the mic skills. Yeah. Listen, Jack. Yeah. It's like calling darts players athletes. Well, they are. It takes an immense skill. It's very finesse. If golfers are going to be athletes, guys who throw darts are athletes. The Dice Man referred to himself as the Dice Man. Yes, he did. Funky Bronco says, oh, yeah, man. It's got to be a competition. Can't just... Dusty Rhodes is an athlete? Come on, man. Come on, man. Ox Baker, really? Really? What was that lady wrestler? Mount Fiji? Are you telling me Mount Fiji was an athlete? I'll wait. What about the Natural, Butch Reed, and the Sundance Kid? I don't know about them. Tom, do you have any good knock-knock jokes? Not really. Dupa says, good point, Tom, but they are competing against death. Well, that's just from heart disease. Yeah, Tim Jenkinson. Earthquake. Yeah. The American Dream. Yeah, steroid theater. I'm not saying it's not entertaining. It can be entertaining. It's not sport. Let's see here. SG Femboy says, knock, knock. Okay, who's there? The knock, knock jokes are too contrived for me. Let's see. Here we go. Everybody's playing. Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain, okay. Kurt Cobain who? I'm not talking about any more of these pro wrestlers. I already did pro wrestling, didn't I? Didn't I do pro wrestling? If I didn't do pro wrestling, I should probably do that tomorrow, right? Let's see here. I thought I already did that. Yeah, I already did pro wrestling. We shall never, and ne'er we shall speak of it again. Let's see here. That's terrible and wonderful. Let's see. Well, now, Kurt is not an athlete. Kurt who? Kurt Angle or whatever the name is. He was an athlete. Not anymore. Let's see here. Yeah, I did. I know I did pro wrestling. I know I did it. There it is. Pro wrestling. 2 weeks ago, for crying out loud, I did pro wrestling. Mr. Chance. Oh, God. And that guy was a real jerk today. He was just a real jerk. He wanted to see my screen. He was a real jerk. Darts is total concentration. I played against pros, and they are great at their profession. Exactly. Is this the real SG fanboy? It's pretty funny if it's not. It's funny either way. Yeah, I did pro wrestling. I didn't forget. I said I thought I did it. I'm not the one that forgets things there. It's me, Dupa. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, hey, thanks, Uncle Fatty. Gosh, you're so well informed. Jeez. Listening to you is just like, man. Kurt Cobain could have been an athlete if he shot clay pigeons. Now, hold on. Gilman says, good night, Gully Heads. Good night, Gilman. Thanks for being here. I think I'm going to end this baby right now. I think I've had enough. I'm really hungry. Plus, that guy really burnt my bacon. Really singed my drawers. Hey, Crappy at Life is here. He's saying H2BH. H2BH to you, brother. H and 2 and B and H. Happy to be here. What else do we got going on here? Yeah, I think I'll do it. Funky says, what happened to that Joker fish guy? I don't know. He's on acid and everything else. Last time I saw him, anyway, he had done, I know acid was one of them. I think maybe meth, and he's online and just all over the place. And I don't know. Good riddance. People saying hi. Have dinner and watch some wrestling. No, I'll watch a movie or something. I've been watching that Karen Reed trial. I'm engrossed in that. Earl Campbell sausages. Man, those Earl Campbells are pretty good. But I saw some. Oh, you know what? I'm doing breakfast for dinner again tonight. The Turn. How's about some of these sausages? Tim Jenkinson says Arsenal have got Bournemouth at the weekend. That should be an easy win. It should be, but who cares? I mean, at this point, it's like we're definitely in Champions League. So what's it matter? Rest all the guys up. Martin Odegaard has not been the same since that knee injury. I'm getting close to saying we need a striker. We need a lot of, and then they show up in that performance and giving up a goal inside of 4 minutes. Are you kidding me? Rebuild a carburetor. I have fuel injection. Jokerfish looks like a horrible drill. And talking about all these bands that nobody ever knew or liked up on the East Coast. Hey, remember Chicken Giblets? They were so cool, man. And no, nobody remembers them. No. And then being all, victim triggered when you go, look, you never stop talking. You harass me constantly. You interrupt. You overtalk. And just goodbye. What's American breakfast? I imagine Pop-Tarts. No, it's going to be scrambled eggs with cheese. It's going to be some bacon. It's going to be an English muffin. How about that? And some hash browns. Some fried potatoes. Funky, I think he has his own podcast now, not a drug addict. He went to rehab and turned his life around. Did he? Really? Yeah. Let's see here. Crappy, I did that already. I thought we liked Jokerfish. I've been away for a while. No. I went on somebody else's show, and it was just a beating. And subsequently just makes stuff up about me, what did he say? I've never made more than $25,000 in a year working in radio and all sorts of crazy stuff because I think he's around my age. So whatever. Good luck to him. Don't need him around here. I hope he goes off and has a fabulous, happy, productive life. But I've heard enough. Why do so many drug addicts feel the need to start internet shows? I don't know, but better get some chapstick on that rawhide. I don't even know what that means. So, let's see here. Not a drug addict? I got news for you, Dupa. No offense. No, he'll always be a drug addict, just like people that are alcoholics. They're always an alcoholic. They may be recovered, but they're still. And that guy, I'm sorry. I've seen him too many times whacked out of his mind. And openly admitting it. It's not like I made it up, and we don't need that around here. And calling himself my biggest fan and my biggest follower and just a lot of disturbed, not quite, but he kind of runs with that crowd. So, and again, I don't bring these people up. I don't really want to discuss them. In fact, I'm done talking to them now. talking to him, obviously to him, but talking about him now. But I don't talk about those people or any of those, wanting to have a slap fight. And I don't need to make things up about people either. Plenty there. You don't have to make anything up there. It's all there for you. Remember the Shaky J's? Oh, man, they were so cool. When? What? Never. No. Never heard of them. I never. And they're asking you questions and giving you what they think is the answer before the end of the question. Tim says it's weird they all seem obsessed by you. Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't think they're obsessed, but there's a good percentage of them that have no use for me. I'll say that. Time for peanut butter fudge spiked with cream cheese. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Peanut butter jelly time. Obsessed with the taste of flesh. Not mine. But, oh yeah, I'm going to make me a big old breakfast. A big old breakfast. And I'm going to do a little work here on the internet. And, funky, I can't even put that on the screen. There's certain people and things it's just better to ignore. Let's see here. Funky, you are correct about that. Flesh rules. I'm wondering what I'm going to do as the show topic tomorrow. I'm sure you guys don't have a preference. I'm sure I don't have a preference. Let's see here. I've already done these. Some of these I got to throw away. I've already done them all. I kind of wanted to do an event, but yes, Funky, that's true as well. That's true as well. I don't want to do Nicholas Rowe. I'll figure something out, I suppose, before tomorrow. I owe Dupa that ranking of the best Carsons and the best Lettermans, or the best moments from Carson and Letterman, so I could do that. Crappy Life says, let me tell you about foundation repair. I actually could do that because we have a lot of that needs to get done here in DFW. Wolf says, man turns animal for the Iraq. Yeah, I know. It's all those B movies you get used to. Agony of love. Obsessed by flesh, she knew no shame. Agony of love. Ride the wild pink horse. Okay, that's not even for... Let's see, I suppose I could do Henry Winkler. I don't want to do Ann Richards. That's boring. The TV show The Millionaire. Don't want to do that. Dick Butkus, Happy Days. Coasters. Could do Coasters. Let's see here. Well, that's an old one there. Already did Due South. Smith. Yeah, those are dumb. Andy Kaufman. I could do Andy Kaufman. Let's see here. That's another thing I got to do. I could do Andy Kaufman. Sounded pretty good to me right now. Could do Andy Kaufman. Ooh, Japanese internment. There's a dark one. Oh well, I'll figure something out. Here's one that the Wolf will remember. I was thinking of doing an episode on Lyman Bostock. Lyman Bostock, which is he's like the poster child for, yeah, when you get famous and successful, don't go back to bad places that you used to hang out. Could do Andy Kaufman. Let's see here. I hate Sven Gulley. There will never be a Sven Gulley show. Kill myself. My name was. I did USA Up All Night. I'm not doing a follow-up. Roller coasters, theme park accidents. Tim Jenkinson. I like theme park accidents. This actually sounds like the name of a band that somebody. Remember theme park accidents? They were so good, man. Theme park accidents. Yes. I'm loving that. Max Hardcore. You mean Max Headroom? The Wolf says it was an explosive night of red hot pleasures. Tim Jenkinson says, I read a book about a British soldier that was captured by the Japs. It's crazy what happened to him. I was going to do one on Nicholas Rowe, R-O-W-E, a famous American POW. He's on my list here, but let me see if theme park accidents is even a... Boom, shaka. Well, let's just do the U.S. theme park accidents. Notable incidents. Wow. This is just generic. God, there must be so many of them because it just keeps going deeper and deeper into, let's just take Walt Disney World. That's in Orlando. Ooh, April 1st, 2010, 9-year-old boy from Reddington Beach, Florida, was crushed to death by a Disney transportation bus at Disney's Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground while riding his bicycle with an 11-year-old girl. A report from the Florida Highway Patrol says the victim appeared to turn his bike into the road and ran into the side of the bus, subsequently being dragged under the bus's right rear tire. Yeah. God almighty. So that's bus, car, monorail, parking lot tram. Man, oh man, oh man. Well, I want to know about the rides, man. I want to know about the rides. Let me see here. There's Legoland, Premier, United Parks, Six Flags, Universal, Warner Brothers. Well, I'll investigate that more tomorrow. That's actually a really good... And then there's incidents at European amusement parks, which I'm sure is what Tim really wants me to cover. I'm sure that's what he really wants. Okay. Let's see. There was one in the UK, Alton Towers. That's one in the UK a couple of years ago. Some people died, others lost their legs. Well, there was that girl in Kentucky. I think it was at a Six Flags. Maybe the cable took her feeties off. There must be hundreds. Oh, yes. Let's not drag this out. All right, kids. I'll have some sort of topic developed by that time. And, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. I'd like to thank Dupa and Doc for their kind, generous donations. That's what keeps the whole place running around here. If you add fair rides, it will be thousands. It's already thousands, Tim. Normally, my sources have like a big article and things like that. No, it breaks them down into categories. It's like, at first it's like, okay, location. Okay, now the various properties owned by that company. Okay, now once you get into that exact amusement park, the one location, It's got, okay, here's all the parking lot accidents. Here's all the tram accidents. Here's all the bus accidents. Here's all the car accidents. Here's all the ride accidents. It's bad. Yes, Funky, I just had another drink of black tea. Hills, that is. Swimming pools, movie stars. All right. Hey, it's hump day. You guys made it. We're halfway over. We're almost to the weekend. And I'm looking at that old clock on the wall, and it says, like the Reverend Now Green, I got to get on up out of here. And I will. And you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. And with all that being said, Crappy at Life says it's my Sunday. All right, man. So you were at church earlier. That rocks. Goat says, great work on the top Pot Awful She-Man episode, Tom. Have they had that yet? I didn't know they had that. I didn't know. I don't know anything about anything. Was that tonight? Did I talk my way through that whole thing? All right. The only thing I have left to say is, till next time. Oh, by the way, you guys are the best. I really enjoy having you all here. I don't see Dupa. She might be mad because I said bad things about people, but I think Dupa's awesome. Hello, Goat. I like the part where you were mean to Shaman. I don't know anything about that. You're welcome. Until next time, we'll see you next time.
1, 2, 3, 4. They call me Mr. Gulley. I've got something for your ear. Now it might sound kind of funny, but I'll make it very clear. So what we talking about? We're talking about spiders, and we're talking about pervitin', and we're talking about Bigfoot. I'm here to tell you where he's been. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. They call me Mr. Gulley. I'm here to save the day. They call me Mr. Gulley, and I'm gonna lead the way. Here we go now. I'm talking about Mr. Gulley, and you don't know where he's been. Oh no, he's been right in your alley. Well, I'm Mr. Gulley, yes I am. So what we talking